Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host 𝙒𝙖𝙪 Iyer. This is Daily Global Insights episode 338 and let's welcome our co-host Sri Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar and good morning to everybody, and an exciting Thursday as the Jackson Hole Summit kicks off and there's plenty of things happening around the world.
Sridhar ji, let's first go to Israel, where the F-35s of Israel have actually flown into Iranian airspace and appeared to have escaped detection by Russian as well as Iranian radars. A little bit of perspective here, Sridhar ji, whose technology is Iran using? And it's a big shock that Russian radars could not pick it up, sir.
Well, I think that is obviously, Iranians have couple of them, which is namely the Russians or the Chinese, but importantly the Russian. The fact that this report is coming out of Saudi Arabia, indicating that there has been persistent incursions by the Israeli Air Force, who flew the F-35, which is a fifth generation US aircraft with their own sophisticated technology embedded into it, and it missed the radar consistently, and they couldn't just detect it, is a reflection that the Israelis have a plan B in place, which we talked about in the last set of the DGI programs. So they appear to be getting ready for any incursions or any intrusions by Iranians in terms of the nuclear aspirations. That's number one. There has also been the ships being seized by the Iranians of the Gulf of Persian Gulf of Hormuz. And so I think they're just going to make sure that no such incidents occur, but there is very much a contingency plan. It's a very major development, just as Iranians think that they can hoodwink the Israelis as well as continue to give them trouble, Sriji.
Now, Iran is continuing to create some sort of trouble in southeast Syria, very close to the United States bases. I mean, they are firing rocket attacks and so on and so forth. And on the other hand, the United States is trying to make a nuclear deal. Is this some sort of a negotiating position that Iran is trying? Remember, sir, Taliban used to try and create attack just before a meeting with the United States.
No, I don't think that this is a negotiating position. I think that basically they're very clear. We covered this couple of DGIs ago, that Iranians have been consistent that they, even with a nuclear deal in place, they have emphasized that there will be no let-up on attacks against Israel or Israeli interests. So clearly, I think that if you recall, a couple of days ago, today is Thursday, on Tuesday, they had launched, there was U.S. Air Force attacks on the Iranian Revolutionary Guard targets in Syria. So today is Thursday. On Wednesday night, we have had rocket attacks launched by probably some other segment of the Iranian-backed rebels in that part of the world. So this thing is going to go on. The theory that is being propagated is that the United States is rather reluctant, but the Europeans want this deal done to get, as we talked about, the Iranian oil into the mainstream market.
Any idea how long it takes before the thing actually starts flowing, sir, from the time they start these refineries?
If you go back to 2000, I think, 2000, in the 2012 to 2014 or 2015, they were able to quite quickly ramp up to about 4 million barrels a day. They're right now somewhere between 1.6 to 2 million barrels. So 2 million barrels a day additional is plenty of, oil flowing in. So they have the ability to ramp up, but the data is little dated. But having said that, there is a historical precedence. So there is a belief that they can get quickly a significant amount of, almost double their capacity in terms of the oil, which there is a great thirst for around the world, most notably in Europe.
Look who's throwing rocks too. China's drones. And Taiwan is building a defense perimeter, drone defense perimeter to try and counter this. Sridhar ji, this is laughable. How can drones be able to throw rocks? I mean, do they have like multiple rocks in one, or I'm just trying to wrap my heads around this, sir?
Well, it's very interesting that the surveillance videos on these remote islands, you know, there's a remote islands between Taiwan and the Taiwan Strait.
Right.
So there is the Taiwanese forces there. So apparently these drones have been propelling some kind of rocks at the Taiwanese soldiers, causing great sense of irritation, which has been picked up by the surveillance drones of Taiwan. And so now they're saying that if that has happened in those remote islands, it is soon coming proximus to the Taiwanese shores. So they now want to build a robust infrastructure around using the drones as a deterrent tool in case the Chinese incursions, this becomes another front for the Chinese into Taiwan.
And now we are hearing that China's auto hub, Chongqing, has extended power cuts indefinitely. Sir, this is almost a death knell to the automobile industry.
Well, I think I don't know the level of trouble that is brewing within China. We talked about COVID, we talked about shutdowns, we talked about economic crisis, we talked about the continuous spread of COVID, and we have also talked about drought that is prevalent. But the power cuts seems to be a big activity that is now fast spreading across the industrial belt of China. You know, Shanghai we talked about. Now it is going to the Chongqing, which is the auto hub. So clearly something is not Sriji, and we are not getting the full sense of the magnitude of issues that the China is confronting.
And India is shifting its attention to Latin American countries with the Minister of External Affairs touring a bunch of countries there. More importantly, European oil giant Norway is interested in investing in the solar panel projects or solar power based projects in India. Sridharji, looks like India is now beginning to look at many other players that perhaps it has not done so before. I think that's a very commendable approach, sir.
It's a very commendable approach, and the fact that India is the world's solar hub, and they have this Italian Ingle group, which is developing the Rajasthan, I think 420 megawatt power supply project, solar power supply project. Now you can see the Norwegians coming in with a significant amount of capital contribution to further, participate in that specific project. I think India is the only country, if I have to use that phrase, which seems to have cracked the code, probably because of the climatic conditions on the alternate energy side, most notably the solar.
And Biden drives United States into further debt, canceling $10,000 of student debt per student and $20,000 for those who have Pell Grants. Sridharji, I think you and I, the normal middle class of America, which is I think like 60%, are being penalized for being diligent, for giving up our food so that our future, our children can have a better future. I could have been slapped 4 times, sir. This hurts the most.
Well, look, I think this is another $300 billion cost to the taxpayer. Only will drive the inflation further. This is all the left of the left-wing progressive agenda, canceling this school debt. Universally, even from within the Democratic Party, there has been criticism of this, but who cares? Mr. Biden says, I'm going to cut it. And so therefore, I have now fulfilled, I have signed climate accord, child, the dole-outs on the Medicare expansion. I have given the dole-outs for the illegals who are coming in. By the way, illegals can also stay in 5-star hotels at Exchequer's expense. Now I'm going to cut the debt on the student loans. By the way, we did a deal with Joe Manchin on the energy side, but we're not going to fulfill our side of the bargain, and we're going to put $350 billion into the so-called energy, but with penalties. So therefore, I think we are in for more trouble as we look ahead on the debt side of the curve. And nobody in the United States follows the balance sheet. Everybody thinks, it's okay. But we have a spiraling debt problem. And all we need is, rise in interest rates, which is inevitable. You're going to see a significant change very soon. Interest cost to the taxpayer is going to be the number one item. It's not going to be Social Security or Medicare, but the interest that we pay on the debt is going to eat up most of the receipts that come from taxpayers.
Somehow they are hoping that there'll be a magic wand that can wish all this away. I would like to, sir, conclude by your thoughts on what you expect in this year's Jackson Hole meetings, and then we can call it a wrap.
Well, I think this year is going to be two important announcements, which is namely how the central banks around the world are going to coordinate and tackle this inflation problem. Okay, and whether there is going to be a consistent, systematic policy of interest rates, or one central bank raising, at one level, at one rate, and another central bank raising at a slower rate, creating some kind of inequilibrium in the markets. But generally, the market sentiment seems to reflect that the central banks are going to act far more cautiously, which is the reason why the Asian markets have closed. Asian markets went up, and European markets are showing some positive signs, and the US pre-markets are up, basically saying the central banks would act what I call far more accommodative rather than a very, very aggressive interest rate policy. I think that's what we can expect.
Thank you very much, 𝙤𝙧𝙤𝙪. And that brings us to a close of today's program. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. And please refer this program to your friends and family, because we are trying to bring you a lot of important things happening around the world in just 10 minutes or less. Thank you very much, 𝙤𝙧𝙤𝙪. Namaskar.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.